time we'll call the regular county commission meeting. Order, sir, oh, we have.
I brought this to commission on Thursday. I didn't get it
I consider no approval of minutes.
Second.
Aye. You guys need, you guys want emergency, the state emergency management director's number in case you ever need it?
I've been streaming St. Louis City football games the last couple weekends.
Brett Hendrick?
You have to go through security to get in.
Do we want to give it up?
Check the players for weapons.
Check the players.
Yeah, they brought weapons for the first jamboree.
It's 573.
I guess that says a bit about St. Louis.
Yeah, it's a good place.
You have-
I'm getting like 600 people watching per game though, so.
He's with SEMA, but he's over emergency management part of SEMA.
And the St. Louis Public
So
Schools may
we
be
have like when we
wanting to
have
pay me
flood
to
or,
start streaming
I
more
call it
stuff for
the
them.
disaster or
That
anything
would
like
be,
that.
that would be
you go
better
through
than
him.
nothing.
Right now I'm making pretty much
You
nothing.
pretty much go through him when we have a disaster.
I've also
tornado
gaining a lot
or
more
flood
people
or
on my
whatever.
stuff, so.
Let me,
Like when the tornado went through, it would have been.
the
your side.
publisher of the Houston Herald replied to me via email. I've not seen what he said. If this may
He can
be
get you about
dealing
anything
with
you
the
need for
Texas
your
County
report.
Sheriff case, I just don't know. I'll see what he had to say.
Always
If
give
not, I will follow up with him on this.
Right.
We've discussed this probably not via email, but I don't know
And he
what
will
his email
put you
to me
right
is about
directly to
yet.
where you need to go.
By the Texas County Sheriff.
But I'm sorry. We also discussed you. I
Oh,
didn't
gotcha.
mention my
That's exactly
name.
the way you feel. Yeah.
Probably can figure out who I am though.
We'll see.
On the square, December 2nd, Santa and Boyer question.
Probably not Houston, but if it was Plato or Licky, they would.
I didn't get pay attention to that.
When they get done, they go back out that door down there. Instead of trying to congregate everybody right here. Well, handicap, you can't. Carl, we could swing him out through the side door and that shut him off.
Come in the front door and then out the side door.
Yeah, that'd be the best way to do it.
I mean, then if somebody has a disability, they can.
Yeah, that'll work. We can do that. I know we're gonna want to put wrenches like this.
Yeah, well, she wants to color her hair. But it feels like.
That's getting that close.
Oh, yeah. You ought to see this. We always keep our cookies and hot chocolate.
She used to always have blonde.
Well, busy night. It gets busy.
Alright, just.
Yeah. Hard to believe.
Yeah. It doesn't,
Medicine crap.
she's not colored.
Look like I
Alright, I'm gonna head over to my home.
I never had a muscle. Oh, gotta make your hand up, dude. Doctors might come by this.
You earlier today, I
I can't lift anything.
You don't use your hot
That's
spot
what you do.
anymore.
You grab my arm and go, "Ooh."
I don't usually need it. Dave Ernst has allowed me to use his internet, which most of the time works, but not always.
He said if it was a whole tear, the whole
Most
thing
of
would
the
be
time
locked
it
up.
hurts.
It just
I
goes
carry
down
the hotspot with me,
That's what
but
probably
most of the time the hotspot is worse than.
I think that's what they do. I don't know, it didn't sound fun to me.
That's what I use for hotspot now.
Horseshoe.
Yeah, I need to pay attention. You're speaking of rope, I probably here. I need to pay attention.
Showed up to a rope in the underneath. He never got fish. He ain't been on church. The thing's in his neck.
It's got a lump, yeah.
Yeah, it's like this big.
Mm-hmm.
What are you gonna do with that?
Jerk your muscle up there.
Yep.
Come detached on the floor.
He said he's seen them drop down below the arm, where it looks like they got a big lump below the arm. He's seen it just different ways.
I mean, it looks like you could have a kid out of that thing. It's huge.
Well, you imagine how big the muscles are
I
right there?
guess, yeah.
When they ball up, when they tear, they just roll up real quick. It's like, he said, it's kind of like a rubber band.
Mm.
It's like cutting a rubber band and boom, it just snaps up.
What are we talking about? That this is a muscle you're talking about?
Muscle, when you tear a muscle, what it does. I guess it's a muscle. Oh, is it a muscle a little bit? I just tell you, it hurts.
See what camping does to you.
Maybe a-
You notice Daryl brought donuts in today, we left them over there to bring them for you guys.
No, those are the donuts from Thursday.
Those are leftovers. Saved it for
He brought them back in to make them look better.
No, I noticed them there, and I was offering to the one person who didn't have a chance before. Anybody else wants a second, you're welcome to it.
We're giving him a hard time.
Hey, I brought 8 of them, 2 of them special orders.
I know.
He gave him
We ate them, thank you.
Everybody, Roger, you were here on Thursday, weren't you?
guys?
Yes.
Okay, so you all had dibs on the donuts. I gave him a dib because he didn't have a chance. Anybody else who wants one, there's one left.
This stuff.
You should probably,
I will if nobody else wants it, but it's up to you guys. And the
I
lady
guess
press,
we'll go ahead
apologies.
and address
I'm
the
good, but
elephant
thank
in
you,
the room.
Okay.
For Bunker Bridge, we are waiting on the guardrail to finish and the final inspection to be done. So we do ask that residents or anybody pass through that please stay off the bridge till it is officially opened up. And we do not have an exact date on when it will officially be opened up. Because we do have to wait on the guardrail guys to finish and the final inspection to be done before we can open it up. And we appreciate their patience, but we're on the home stretch. We just don't want to screw it up because, we don't want to jeopardize any of our funding.
Correct.
So,
They know their rules. Sometimes you don't like it, but you do it. And safety wise, until they get the
Right.
guardrails up, there's a big safety issue there.
right.
As soon as you open up that guardrail, someone will drive off and they'll be hollering at you.
All right. So,
Yeah.
She asked me, and I wasn't telling them
drove over there the other day when we were looking at the water bridges. It really looks good.
it does, yeah. Yep, they've got the roadways built up.
If you
Both
hear
ways.
anybody talking about the truck, until we get somebody hired, I gotta go meet with everybody. Explain to them what's gonna happen.
I was, there a lot of people asking who we fired or whatever, they've seen it.
They want to know who we hired.
Yeah.
I heard that. I've had a couple people ask. I go, Dave's been busy with his conference and then he got back and then we figured this week would be a good week. Hopefully by next week we have somebody sometime.
Good.
We'll get them going.
More to that job than what people think.
It's a lot to that job, I'll tell you right now. Just doing the paperwork. Well, I just got all the paperwork done because we did receive a grant that pays for half of everything pretty much. So this OEM, it came in and Brett told me I had to get it signed and get it back to the state. That's what I did this morning. I filled out all the paperwork. It's $20-some thousand for a grant that covers pretty much, it covers half of everything. Half the insurance, half the truck. It even covers for a secretary too, part of a secretary to help.
I need one of those.
So it's a good grant. I got it done. I got the watershed that came in, I gotta get it done.
busy.
That's for Homeland Security, I believe it said. Homeland Security. This one I need help on, so I'll go up the hill. Someone that's got all the documentation in the world to cover that, and I'll have them help me. I come from SEMA again. No, it's from SEMA again, but it also has,
Hey, it's your turn to pay. Hey, it went up.
also has federal involved in that one.
Yeah, is that not crazy?
It came from James Remillard.
Is that not crazy? I know we better start paying. We want $15 on Powerball.
Dave, do you have any luck at what we were looking for the other day?
Sorry.
Do you have any luck with what we were looking for? No.
The, what else was there? And Randy Rowe from McLean County OEM, he's a director there. He said if we need anything, he's a phone call away and 30 minutes away. I met with Randy Rowe and that
Let's
too.
keep fingers crossed we don't need it.
That's what I said, you know, we just keep it quiet, that way we don't have no flood, no tornado,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
you know, hey, been through 12, what is it, I think it was 12 of them, 11. That's good. One of them was the snow when it happened, in his northern part, it only covered the northern part of the western district. Back when they got 16 inches of snow up there, that's when they canceled our commissioners conference that year. We got all that, almost 20 inches across Columbia, Jeff City, they got 16 on the northern side of his district. And they declared it. We got a little bit of money out of that. But it didn't affect anything here. I think, well, we got 3 inches of that time, they got 16 right up by you, that's towards, what is that little town, got a little fire station there?
okay.
Hawkeye.
Oh,
Just before Hawkeye, maybe 2 miles before Hawkeye and north, got 16 inches of snow.
big difference.
Oh, yeah. I had one day one when I took the job. I started to get Fort Hood.
Yeah.
That was the first day on the job. What do you do? I had road and bridge out there cutting up trees.
We had an ice storm last year.
Then we had
My
the
first
ice
day.
storm, yeah.
It sent everybody home.
We've had, the first year I had that, I had a ice storm and I had a flood the first year, 3 of them. And then about every year I had something little, and then we had a big major flood, 3 floods, big ones.
Well, the almanac says it's gonna be another bad winter.
I was gonna say, the guy that's been doing the National Cattlemen's weather for the last 40 years, he didn't paint a very good picture
Yeah.
for us. But he got us moving into a drought.
Well, everywhere out west is, even Kansas and Nebraska and all them, they said they're in it's the worst drought since 1988 that they've had.
And typically they start out there and migrate this way.
So there's major fires still out in California burning that apparently are some of the worst they've had in a while.
Have you guys put any salt in with the gravel you're putting on the roads?
He has.
You've been,
Do what?
you've been mixing salt with the gravel you put on the roads?
Yeah.
How's it holding?
I'm also curious to see how that helps in the wintertime with the salt in the road.
Yeah, it's supposed to pack the road like concrete. Now, how's it been doing? You tried it?
It's helping. It's helping.
Tell you what we really need, and we could almost buy one and split one, but it'd be nice to have a roller.
You guys have one?
I've got a roller. I've got one, but it's just not
Is
heavy.
it the big one?
No, it's self-propelled,
Yeah,
but it's not heavy enough. I filled it with water, and we'll drain that and put something else in it for the winter. But it's just not heavy enough.
really.
It needs to be heavier. We need something.
Yeah, that.
You guys have a water truck.
Mhm.
If you lay the road, you can wet them and then roll, and that would
Mhm.
surely help.
Well, it would really help with or right now, we're so dry.
Oh, yeah.
Our hills washboard, I mean, you can grade
You can cut 'em.
them today.
You can burn
and
a blade up on them
Yeah.
things right now.
They'll be just
Back
back
in
the same by tomorrow.
Because we have, you know, the roads that used to have 2, 3, 4 people living on them, now there's 2 dozen.
Or they're a cut through to somewhere, you know.
I think everybody's driving at least 2 cars nowadays, so.
Which there's some road, we have access to, MRPC have a traffic counter.
Or St. Robert does too.
I'd like to have one of them on a couple of roads.
Contact him on PDC, or you can contact Steve up at City of St. Robert,
Okay.
and he can probably help you.
Because I think it really surprises us what the traffic count is
Yeah.
on some of those roads.
We used it on Devil's Elbow Bridge. I was shocked, the amount of traffic, and people were knocking on traffic, they actually went across that bridge. It also tell you how fast they're going. Because it's 2 lines, this one hit this one, this one, it tells the speed, how long it took from hitting that one to that one, I don't know.
Yeah.
It tells you how fast they're going on that road. They'll give you the printout. You get a whole printout of it. It's not a neat look.
Probably gives you hours a day you get your heavy.
Yes.
photo.
It does.
It gives, it'll break it down to your heaviest traffic times.
It'd be good to do that again, because I think whenever that was done, it was originally done to gauge the traffic going across the bridge for the Christmas lights. So it'd be good to kind of have one that shows just the regular flow of traffic through there too, so we can see if how much traffic the Christmas lights are actually generating.
Gina, I'll tell you something right quick on that flat pole. Right out here. We had to bring back the truck over so they could raise it again. You need to get somebody to pull the cap off the flat pole and put new pulleys on it.
I will get a card out the mail today.
Mhm.
So every time you raise it forward, it's
It rolls over and then wedge it.
Yeah.
Technical name for that is that the truck.
We can't do it.
That's called the truck that's on top of the bike club. If I remember right.
We'll get a hold of it. The St. James Flag Company, we'll get a hold of it and have it
So but we'll run it up.
fixed. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So the next time you do it, it's just gonna come off again, so.
Okay, hey, appreciate it.
Yep. See you guys.
See, Brian?
We need to contact James Flag Company. One thing or another out there. The tree gets in it, the branches get in it, then you trim them back.
I messed around on one of my ropes wearing too. Before I got it replaced, and I had some gaskets age out there to re-thread it for me.
Yeah.
I don't have a ladder call number.
Yeah.
Dinner, I know what that is. Did you go to Jeff City for the license deal?
I was there, but I wasn't
You was there, but you wasn't there?
in Jeff City.
Anything else go up to that? The bison thing?
No, I had too much to do.
Direction, birthday party.
Yeah.
I had too much to get done.
Well, you know, yesterday and everything going on, I'm like,
We were out of town yesterday. Boys had ball games
See,
till
right now.
about 9 o'clock at night last night, so.
yeah. I went to the funeral, you talk about packed.
Well, we drove through there. We
Oh,
drove through
no.
there at 10:30
Huh?
probably, and the fire trucks were wrapped around the school
I
already.
was there, I
3
got
rows
there,
wide.
I
Yeah,
got there 45 minutes before visitation.
I passed you on Highway 7.
Did you?
When I got there compared to what it was at actual time of service and when I left.
Double.
More, it's standing room only.
Yeah.
It was almost full when I left.
They had a live stream. I watched it on the live stream.
It was almost full when I left, and,
Andrew.
I mean, there was fire departments from all over the state there. There was departments I even knew existed. It was there.
Gives me goosebumps.
Columbia was
just-
here, Jeff City was
It was
here.
It was a hell of a service for a good man.
Yes.
What was even
And I gave a proclamation from the.
more impressive was during the procession to see the streets lined with
Yeah.
people from the community
And then, then
that weren't at the service, but
they
had
were
the
lined
streets
up,
lined.
they were all lined up in the streets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a wonderful tribute.
Well, the thing that set Ricky apart was he was caring, compassionate, and had common sense.
Common sense.
It wasn't just a black and white, I'm the fire chief, you do this, this is the way it goes. You know, he took every incident into consideration on how they reacted to it,
And-
because he knew the people it was happening to.
And the other
you know.
firefighters under him,
Yeah.
the ones he's trained in that, he was so compassionate and helping.
He was, yeah.
Family.
His family, yeah.
Yep.
Huge. It was huge.
Yep.
Andrew.
I know Robin called me and they said, coming up with a ladder, I don't know what ladder number, but I know the fire ones in Rolla very well. And, he said, you're gonna be surprised how many engines come from all over the state. When I was there, they were lined all the way around the back of the building, too deep.
St. Louis,
And they went
Jeff
too
City,
deep all the way to the
Joplin.
road.
Osage, Lake
And they were
Oak,
parking-
Hamilton.
They were parked over the gravel, and they were out of room there, and they were parking across the street.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. He was the definition of a true public servant.
So when we drove out, he was taking pictures. Daryl, did he count, did you take pictures of all the apparatus or just some of them? I was
The
just curious
their
how many
apparatus
there
is
actually were.
photogenic. There were some vehicles that had the lights, but you couldn't tell what they were. Either, in some cases, all they had was the license plate, and there's no way my camera would ever show what it was. In still other cases, they had a civilian plate, who knows who they were.
Did you happen to count them?
I was being told that there were 41 different departments here, but that number does not come from me.
But, yeah, anybody know the year of that fire truck?
1953.
53. I was doing it was a 50s model, but it was
Yep.
neat. Yeah.
And that was what he started Tri-County Fire with, and he purchased it.
Yeah. Someone asked me, and I said, if I'm not mistaken, in 1991, he started Tri-County in 1991.
He
He
did
did.
because the city of Richland said that they could no longer afford to provide fire service people outside of the city. And he didn't like that. And this is what they said yesterday in the service, you know, they said that he didn't feel comfortable leaving everybody outside of the city unprotected, so he stepped up and formed Tri-County Fire himself.
Okay. Thank you.
I called him, what he reminded me was a big bear. With the heart that wouldn't harm his soul. But when he talked, you would thought he was gonna be big and mean. When he talked, he was so soft and,
Yeah.
and nice and. He was good. You don't have to become certified to drive this truck. You better back around that truck over and change back.
Overdriving the truck.
He don't have a clue the law. I can pull him a statute.
And what does being law enforcement have to do with being OEM director?
Nothing. Nothing. seen him, he's out there by the road. There was just two there. Park, because it in the park, I believe, but not, one of the officers asked me, he was throwing the thing in the park for Ricky and for Hobbs, no, for Ricky and, Russell. It's gonna happen in the park, and he wanted me to come down and do something for that. Whatever you guys need me to do, I have no problem. No. You can get it from him, you can look that about, but I'll tell you that. Yeah. Wasn't the right time to say it. Business.
Gene, speaking of proclamations, I don't know if you guys are aware, but Lorraine Rigsby, who lives up the hill, her family had the Rigsby service station. She's going to be 100 years old this November. And I don't know if that needs to be on your radar.
Well, no, that's good. We just did one for well. She was 100, not turned 100, yeah. Oh, we'll take care of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just did one for, well, a month or two ago, 2 months ago.
I need to mention it to the city of Waynesville too.
How was she doing?
Last time I saw her, fantastic.
That's good to hear. The last I knew was several years ago. She had made the decision to get off Facebook, and that often indicates maybe no longer able to do things. I'm glad to hear she's doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, she's 100 years old, so.
Well, yeah, I do.
But yeah, the last time I saw her, she's very, very alert, and she's got a memory. I'm jealous of her memory. She can tell you stories from way back.
Yeah.
She's a great lady.
You may be aware my mother-in-law is 91 and walks a mile and a half every
Yeah.
morning up and down that huge hill in her subdivision. Generally, when I say I have a 91-year-old mother-in-law who walks up and down that hill, 91. 91-year-olds are in walkers and wheelchairs, or they're in the grave. They're not walking up and down hills.
You go to these half marathons, you got 80-year-olds that are running half marathons every weekend still.
Yeah. Yeah.
People obviously can stay healthier a lot longer now.
Yeah.
The building up there, is that yours?
No. It's still that. Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty sure the Historical Society was planning on doing something for Lorraine, but I don't have any
Yeah.
details.
Who's he?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody.
Even know what that was actually.
Concrete barrier.
Protocol, they stay stretches and push it.
Yeah. Yeah. The one up north,
Wow.
they
Put him in his place.
Yeah,
Put him in his place.
yeah, it did.
stacked them up against
All that is like around the truck and hit. Well, Waynesville officer up there, I can't remember his name, he was out very front.
Yeah.
We talked for 5 minutes, and I go, oh shoot, that traffic light, man, get out of there. I really want to follow him very well.
I don't have any trouble with him.
I don't know why, I've never let him do it.
Things are getting a lot better, and getting a lot more cooperation, people working with it a lot better than.
But you had to tell them. Yep.
Conversation for
I
another time.
noticed the last press release. See what it read?
Mhm.
You fixed that.
Well, what do you mean?
Hey, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. You're not being mean, you're just letting them come. Some people take it wrong, you think you're being mean, but you're not. You're just saying, hey, this is the way it's gotta be.
Doing things a little different than what's been done before though. So it's just a adaptation and learning time with
Yeah.
that. For everybody.
And before, they were doing a lot of it anyway.
Sure.
I mean, that
Well,
was
they
the
had to.
problem. They had to. There was no one to do it, and they were doing it. They were doing it probably the best they knew how to do it, I don't know.
Right.
You can't not remember that, because they gotta do a bunch of it. I'll put on that site. When you say no doubt going to be probably next year, I'm guessing.
Where?
17 along.
I don't know if they're gonna do some spot repair here
Okay.
within the next couple of weeks. And he said just ask the people to be patient. And they will
I'll
do
put it
that.
on there for them on the site, and say, hey, look, this is what Charles said.
Yeah, yeah.
That MoDOT had told you,
Okay, yeah.
and we'll have to wait and be patient.
Just be patient, because they're coming, they're doing that area.
I'll put that on there when I just start meeting you. I'll just tell them what's gonna happen, and if they see it, I'll. You know how it is. Years, I got somebody calling for me to build a road. You gotta explain that. You have to talk to them. I can
I
just.
seen your post you made this morning.
I can do that, I can say, hey,
I seen your post you made this morning.
And I said, that's all I can do.
I was originally hoping that the State Water Patrol would put out something, so I wanted to wait for that, but then I realized they weren't even there. It was done by Fort Leonard Wood Fire and Waynesville Fire, if I understand correctly.
That's incorrect. Water Patrol was there.
They were there, but they didn't announce anything.
By the time I were contacted, it was already out of the water. So the patrol agent come down, however, he didn't bring a boat with him because he wasn't in the water. And unless it's declared a drought, they won't have a report on it.
Yeah, and that was gonna be my second question.
So he's got a report started about the incident. However, pending completion or filing of that report will be on the autopsy to find out for sure.
And obviously, if somebody has a heart attack and it falls in the water, is it a drowning? No, they died of a heart attack.
Right, right. And that's actually kind of where we're at on this one, so.
I kind of had put two and two together. 75 years old, in the water, possibly medical condition, strokes, heart attacks, things like that. But they happen.
Recently that have
I was
been
just up there the other day.
positive.
Sad situation.
I don't have it.
And as far as the other incident you asked about earlier that day,
I understand.
okay. Yeah.
Apparently, there've been arrests made, but no official announcement yet. The sheriff not being here probably means he's dealing with that.
But you
Oh,
gotta fix for
okay,
that.
see, that's news to me, I hadn't heard that.
There have apparently been multiple arrests, and as you know, you can pick up people on outstanding warrants and other things without filing charges.
And you can bring them into question and things like that too, so.
Yeah, I'll be going upstairs and see if anything new gets filed, or got filed over the
And then they're
weekend.
gonna get a few of others over.
But we'll see.
They're working on ways to fix this.
So you obviously have an idea what's going on, so.
Stabbing, and I do have a name of the victim. Having said that, I think we do recognize that
And you know, you got $50 worth of gas for the rest of the month, so you're $10 short.
not everything is the way it always initially appears.
Well, and that's true, yeah. And as long as there's
You're gonna
a,
have to carpool a little bit more to keep your two.
so you know, and I've told you this before, but as long as there's an actual active, open investigation, I won't comment on anything, so.
And I totally get it. I recognize you have a lane, you need to stay in your lane, and your lane is not the sheriff.
If they had the money, they'd already had a blacktop.
I'd hate to get that phone call from Kevin Hellman because I lost the case because I said something,
Fix it
you
right.
know?
I get it.
Take it
Yeah.
all the way around.
You've been considerably more cooperative than
They're trying to keep
a
you.
number of people in the not so distant past, and I want to encourage not to penalize and get you in trouble.
I mean, gotten beaten up.
I'll gladly share whatever I can, but everything's got its own time and
I totally get it. Compromising a pending investigation, particularly if not everybody they want to talk to has yet been contacted, that doesn't help anybody.
well, that and there's issues. All family members need to be contacted,
Right.
especially when it comes to your media platform. There's such a large following, if something gets on there, it's
I totally understand.
out pretty quick, you know, and
I understand.
Well, they weren't.
although if it has interest to people, it gets out pretty quick.
That's the biggest problem.
I do.
Don't like.
And then there are people who are yelling, "Why didn't you report this?" I did.
Don't get me wrong, it's not always
Oh,
good news.
okay.
No.
Half of them,
I
if
told
you'll
them.
just.
I was surprised to see you yesterday on Sunday.
Fix like this guy's.
I normally attend funerals. I had not intended to be there on work-related issues, but barring very unusual situations, you're going to see me at funerals of elected officials, senior people, city staff, and relatives. There are exceptions. We've had, for example, Steve Lynch's nephew, I attended the visitation, not the funeral, because the time of it was such that there was no way for me to get back from Springfield. This particular one, I literally walked in at the point that they were
Yeah, we were all lining up. I seen you there at the end.
Yeah. Well, that was.
I walked in at the point they had just begun reading the obituary, and they handed me the bulletin, and I don't know what they've been doing before that, but it appeared to be right at the beginning of the service. But anyway, that's when I got there from Springfield. There have been some funerals that I have missed that I've been very unhappy to have missed. Generally, when those occur, it's either the funeral is in Rollo or Lebanon.
Well, I guess it's good to know that if I died today, you'd go to my funeral. So.
Well, yeah, you're right, I would.
Is he really dead? Let's make sure.
No. Although I will say it's kind of an Italian thing that you go to the funerals, and that was the joke. The people who did it always went there to make sure the person's really dead. That was exactly the joke.
So if they showed up to a funeral and there was a closed casket with no sign of anybody in it,
let's just say that wasn't done. No matter how bad the condition of the body, unless it was skeletonized, I mean, obviously there are situations there was no choice. But barring the most extreme, extraordinary situations, really significant efforts were made to have open casket funerals in the old days. And one of the standing jokes is if you're going to kill somebody, you don't do anything to his face because his mother has to see it at the funeral.
Oh, even as long as you got respect on things. Yeah.
You don't. She's got a camera. I need to be a little careful what I say.
Now you know how we feel.
There are things I say to you privately I don't say to county commission meeting.
Depends if Daryl's here or not on what we say.
I know that. But I need to pay attention to what they're saying.
Laura, who runs the tourism now?
As far as I know, the executive director is Beth Wiles.
Okay.
2 mile square, made it look slick. And then the two of the homeowners, even the guy who was talking about, been down there. I asked him when he was gonna be done, he said, "We're done Friday by noon." He goes, "Okay, you make sure nobody leaves." He goes, "We're bringing lunch." And they brought like 20 pizzas down there, so it was Kentucky fruit. Now, how hard was it?
Right,
It should have never got there.
right.
This, the little old lady that's 80 years old, and back there in the holiday. You couldn't get an ambulance back there.
I know the house. All the way back to the left. Yeah.
Probably couldn't get an ambulance back there. It's all I can do, get back there in my pickup.
What happened is just roll up. Or who was it down there?
That's been 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a gentleman, it's a gentleman by the name of
Yeah, you have a property owner in there who doesn't want anybody past that, and he has no authority on that.
And that's what I told him. And anyway, we,
Take law enforcement with you if you have to.
me and him would meet with the cabinet at 10:30.
Yep,
Let me use the restroom.
sometimes you gotta do that. You gotta get that 90-some-year-old lady to make sure that ambulance can get in and out of there, and it's your road. You gotta be done. There's no homeowner in between here and there to stop. It's happened more than once around here. There's always been somebody. It was happening up in his area one day, Ricky called me. His road grader operator. You remember that, Darrell, when someone stopped the guy?
Has a name of the road been mentioned at any point yet today?
No.
Okay, that's
The road I'm talking about, you remember when Ricky had that problem with the road grader guy got stopped by somebody that had
Vaguely.
a weapon or something?
yeah.
Remember that?
He had more than one.
Yeah. I mean, you're out to fix the road, and then you get stopped by people that think,
Well, they own it. I've got property on Sterling Road, and there's a lady that lives down the road that will stop you and ask your business on that road and claim that it's hers.
Is she the mayor?
I've had that
he's the
happen.
mayor of that area is what she is.
And,
Hey, sometimes that's a good thing, though. She
the
keeps an eye on
property
when
that-
nobody comes in. Exactly right.
I've had that happen to me several times. People put out their hand to stop me. What are you doing here? I'm Darrell Marina, Pulaski Daily News. I'm on my way to so-and-so.
You're nice.
That's probably okay. Come through.
I don't have to explain to them I'm on a county, public county road.
No, you don't have to explain. But when it comes to some of these, I'll say, some of these elderly ladies on this road, they want to know everything that's going on or who's going down the
Well,
road.
this lady is in her 30s,
Oh,
maybe.
that's different.
And the property that I own was part of my grandfather's old farm that I've bought back after it was sold off. That's been in my family since the 20s.
Okay.
Well, 100 years now, I guess, you know. Who are you?
Yeah.
Back when Dundee Bostwick was at the Daily Guide, we were both trying to get to a fire scene, and somebody had blocked the road with the car, absolutely refused to let any civilians through to the fire scene. I had to get a hold of Chief Eureka on my cell phone and said, "Is this person here with you guys? Is this a volunteer firefighter preventing us from getting through? He's an unmarked vehicle." And Chief Eureka said, "What are you talking about?" I said, I got a guy here who is preventing civilians from crossing the road unless we're in a fire vehicle or wearing a fire uniform. That isn't one of my guys. I talked to the mutual aid units to see if it was any of them, and he said, "Hand your phone to that guy." And I don't know what Eureka said, but the end result is Eureka got Dundee and me through. It happens sometimes, and the person's intent was to keep gawkers out of a fire scene. I can
Right.
get it.
Yeah. They're trying to help, and sometimes
yeah.
they hinder. But, you know, bless their heart, you know, sometimes we need more people to help.
Yeah.
Better people at that from the public than people going and looting the fire scene, which is what their concern was.
Sometimes when you have emergency situations like that, it can kind of seem that people will just be a little understanding and give you room to work, that would be the biggest thing they can do to help.
Right. And I thought it was entirely reasonable that this could have been somebody who, especially if it was a hazmat situation.
If it was hazmat, you wouldn't have got any of it in media.
Well, no question about that. But that was the idea, that when I'm blocked from a location, I'm not just gonna say, let me through. I'm gonna find out what's going on. I thought that this was going to turn out to be a volunteer firefighter that did not have turnout gear, but was stopped here and was delegated to keep people out, and that's okay. But Eureka was as surprised as anybody else. Yeah, when was this? Probably 2009, 2010, it was years ago.
I gave her a whole bunch of stuff for helping.
Dondi came in 2009, and I don't know what year she left, but it might have been 2011 she went to Rolla, I'm not sure the year.
Did you get your trucks done?
No, I'm hungry.
Didn't last too long at Rolla.
I wanted paid for them for it.
Imagine that.
But he ain't supposed to.
Imagine how people feel about that.
Well, it's nap time. I've been up since
When we
4.
originally talked about it.
I went to bed about 4.
They have coffee, feel free to have some.
I need to get something to eat before I go back out to the children again.
Actually, one down out there, I think.
He's okay with doing
Who owns
that.
a shelter over there? Do you guys know?
They're not gonna be.
For
in
American
our position
Family?
either. We're taking them.
The one across the road over there?
So if something happens down there to them.
That's farm.
They're not.
Or is that Farm Bureau?
Yeah, over here.
You know who owns
He'd be
that?
liable.
I don't know either. I didn't know they were even there,
I
actually.
understand it now.
They've been there
Come down on
about a year now, I guess.
I do know that's, I used to call that Lawyer Row all through there, because
When Laura was out for.
there's like 5 lawyers' offices within this little corner here.
Because the courthouse is here.
She's getting, I got the.
It's like they had a
sent to them.
story about all those lawsuits of Texas, one of those towns, a district court, and most of the lawyers' offices for those patent lawsuits, their actual office is literally across the street from the district court. They actually, bought the entire square basically, or bought the buildings and put permanent offices across the street from the district court office. And they file multiple patent lawsuits.
In the modern era where to run a retail store, you need parking. What's the best use of the downtown around the courthouse square? Lawyers are probably the best use. Doesn't tie up the parking, and they've got immediate access to where they need to go to work. And let's be honest, bail bondsmen and lawyers are populating the downtowns of most rural county seat communities anymore.
A lot of them were empty buildings, and they just bought them for almost nothing. A lot of
Lawyers
these
are
are
about the only one that can afford the property around the downtown area.
Thursday. She was out Thursday,
They
Friday.
still got that area that's
I got
empty that they was supposed to build a little shopping center and never did.
Email to her and
Over here,
she's getting,
they tore down the old shops
Where
and,
the old Hungry House Cafe used to be.
yeah, they was supposed to build a little new shopping center there at one time, and
And then 2008 hit.
yep, and it's still sitting empty pretty much from what it was.
Oh,
we
they
talk
don't
about
have
retail
for
sale.
sale
My
sign,
wife
see what
really
they
likes
want
to
for
move her store downtown here
I
because.
bet it's a lot.
a lot,
can't afford
especially as
property
you
in
get
St.
north where
Robert,
the
business
old
property.
Town squares are.
It's
You know,
cheaper
they
in
got
St. Roberts than it is in Waynesville.
You just
Craziness.
send all of it right
There's no
there.
restaurants down here
There's no
really.
parking
I mean,
anywhere
you got
down here.
a couple over there, but I mean, they're not.
Because we don't have the main gate in
And-
Fort Leonard Wood.
There's not a whole lot here other than lawyers and whatnot, so.
Downtown squares are perfectly designed for the horse and buggy era. They're not designed for the automobile.
Well, I still ride a horse and buggy sometimes there.
That was one of the interesting things to me down in New Orleans when I was down there a couple of years ago. I was down there for the American Farm Bureau meeting and then for the National Cattle thing. And those streets were all laid out down there for horse and wagon to bring goods off the boats that came in to those warehouses. Little narrow streets.
Yeah.
I've never verified this, but I'm told that of our major cities that go back before the automobile era, the only one that has a downtown that they didn't have to level buildings to make it drivable was Salt Lake City, and that was because of the Mormons with whatever the revelation was that they needed to have streets that were so and so wide with a certain number of yoke of oxen. They had to be able to go side by side, and the streets were just, for the 1800s, just absolutely massive, but were designed right from day one with Temple Square for huge rights of way that turned out to be extremely beneficial to cars.
I bet it was.
But wasn't bad. I mean, look at New York City. Look at look at the difference between New York and LA. LA was essentially designed for automobiles, except for the core downtown. Virtually all the growth of LA is post 1940,
Runs really good.
with World War II's growth.
New York, you laid out
Be on top of it.
horse and wagon down.
You know, my van's like that.
I know too much about that mess.
And they get
Something else I noticed down there in New Orleans too, they have kept fast food
all
out
the
of
way to
the, out
Richmond
of
back.
the vacation area or convention area.
Right.
They kept fast food out all that area there.
Especially on the highway, it'll make you want to, you kind
There's no
of.
fast food.
Yeah,
They've very
Yes.
skillfully done
but then when I hit
that.
Waynesville here, and they got the new asphalt, it quit.
What kind of asphalt is that they put on the hill? Is that kind of something on the interstate coming down Ruby Hill? They've resurfaced it with something, but it's almost like it has a
It's
rough
like an
texture
aggregate, it's
to
got
it.
a
Yeah.
rough, yeah, it's got an aggregate, I wanna call it, almost like sandpaper as you come down the hill. But when I hit the Buckhorn exit, that truck, the front end calmed down. But between here and Buckhorn, it kinda, I don't know. he
That
drove it
place is
too.
rough out there.
Well, it made the truck wanna move around, and I thought, I
Whatever.
didn't know if it was the road or if it's the truck, but when I hit the Buckhorn exit, that other asphalt, all of a sudden it calmed down.
Anywhere between about Hilltop Motors and the Buckhorn exit, it's.
Oh, it was all
it's
over the
terrible.
road.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
thought it
terrible.
was the truck at first, I'm gonna have to check the front end too.
No,
But once I hit the bridge there at Buckhorn and going, it just calmed down.
Yeah, it's the road. I would venture to say.
I was worried the front end needed fixed too. I'm like, well, I
You should
checked
drive
the
one of
front end
them
too. Then all of a sudden it calmed down.
450s
I'm
or
like, oh,
5500s through there, or your dump truck come short.
well, just, everything I own is 20 years old, so it's really good.
I like the smell of the highway when you come back this way on the highway. I'm down half, 3/4 way down the hill.
On Spruce?
You're on the highway, you can smell it.
Oh, yeah, it's
strong.
very potent.
It is strong.
What is this that's strong?
It's the marijuana.
Go drive down Spruce Road.
Haven't you smelled it? Down
Even
the
with your
highway,
windows
you
up.
turn your air conditioner on, coming down the highway, 3/4 way down that hill, almost to Waynesville Bridge, about a quarter mile up. It'll just, all of a sudden, just comes through your vest.
I can't smell anything.
Now,
but I can
Spruce the
smell
South
that.
Outer
Well,
Road.
it smells like skunk to me. I don't know.
Okay.
Is that what it smells like to you?
Okay.
Yeah, in
Kinda
a
like
sense.
that?
I don't usually have a reason to be on the South Outer Road, but I'll make a point of driving by there.
Park over for 20 minutes, and you'll be up there eating.
You couldn't
cookies
start,
later.
you can start to smell it when you're at the stoplight by Lowe's Chevrolet.
Yeah, you can smell it there too. If the wind's blowing right, you'll smell it
Is
there.
that from the growing deal?
Mhm.
It's
How many
strong.
greenhouses did they end up with?
Oh,
80?
it's huge.
Because they started with, in the original plan I seen, there was gonna be 4 of them, but I think they doubled that
Doubled.
because,
If you actually can smell it, that was one of the promises they made the city, that there would be no odor outside of the buildings.
Oh,
Oh, you can smell it
over there
bad.
Big
I
time.
guess they've got one of those.
Like I said, even with your windows up, it'll
Mhm.
come
Yeah.
through your AC vents.
Mm.
Saw that building down there.
Well, they're in violation of their agreement with the city, but is the city going to complain about
When
their
you
own
drive down
industrial
the highway,
park?
You smell it for about a total of 15 seconds, then you don't smell it no more. But you
I'm
smell
gonna
it
start a
when
hog
you-
farm down there if the smell's not an issue.
Well, you can get away with it with Missouri's agricultural rules. You know better than I do about that. I think I've told both of you.
I me for the last 2
Did-
weeks when I
did
drove down
plastic-
that hill, I kept smelling. I go, I know what that smell is now.
Well, my office is right over there.
Did
I
Pulaski
wanted to
County
back
ever
in your
approve
car
that
twice.
ag rating?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know it was presented to them, Did Pulaski County ever approve becoming an agri-ready county?
This is the first I've heard about that.
We had a thing come through, was that
I know
last year?
I was part of the group that was going around promoting that, but
I'm not going to tell you that it wasn't done, but it wasn't discussed
About
extensively.
3 years ago, we had one come through that we signed.
okay.
Okay.
It was brought to us by, wasn't it brought to us by Larry Helms?
Probably by Larry.
Yeah.
And
I may have thought it was just one of the routine resolutions. It was not something that was discussed extensively.
Yeah, I know that, you know they're gonna sign it.
but anyway, you should have gotten a sign that said agri-ready in Pulaski.
Well, we had a
An agri-ready
cardboard,
sign.
we had a cardboard sign like that. We had it up for a long time on the front.
Hmm.
$88 billion a year
Okay, well, we
agriculture
modeled it.
generates in Missouri.
Good number.
No, but
88 billion.
It was over on that side of one time.
Am I correct? It's the second largest industry in the state?
The largest.
It's that first is the largest. Okay.
It's the largest.
Okay.
And Missouri, I think, is number 3 in the nation on cattle production.
Yeah.
And that number I
Flip
heard.
flop.
We flip-flop with Oklahoma.
Yeah.
We flip-flop.
I was shocked when I was reading all that. I didn't know we was big
Yep.
as what they were saying.
88 billion a year.
Yeah.
And they'll get off the interstate, and there ain't nothing in Missouri.
Hey.
Farm.
We'd have to annex Kansas and Oklahoma to overtake Texas.
Texas, yeah.
I'm going to say this with her camera on. How about expelling St. Louis and Kansas City, and then Kansas and Oklahoma would probably love to merge.
Yeah.
Wasn't it back in the 1800s, they used to run the cattle from Kansas City to Amarillo, they'd make that run?
Mhm.
They used to drive them all the way from down there to
Can you
Kansas City.
imagine trying to drive them cattle?
They still do, they just use trucks now.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then, though, on horses, you had to keep them things corralled, that'd be a tough job.
Well, there's a couple companies down there if you want to pay. This is the bad part. It costs you about $10,000,
You
but
can go
they'll
on
take
cattle
you
drive.
on the original cattle drive.
Yeah, they still move cattle across
Yeah.
there. They've turned it into a tourist business.
Yeah.
But,
Really?
Back when I was in New Mexico, my assistant editor had written a book on the Chisholm Trail and talking about some of those tourist cattle drives that they would do on the old Chisholm Trail.
How are you gonna get away there?
Your horses got a lot
They're
to do with that.
they're just like the ones in Fort Worth though. When they open the gate at Fort Worth and get everything stood up, them guys don't even have to do anything. Them cows, nothing. They walk right around here, down the street, that away, back to it, and they get fed. So they're not going anywhere.
that's just like the pig race.
Yeah.
I can tell you some farmers around here, if you tried to drive them things with a horse and try to move them from Crocker to Dixon, it'd probably take you 3 days because they'd be scattered all over through the country.
Well, my great-grandpa Polly's farm was down Black Oak Road over there, and they sold cattle in Camdenton. Well, the highway was all gravel then still, and they drove them by horses from there all the way to Camdenton to the sale barn.
Kinda neat, old school.
Yep.